Hello everyone, my name is Clantis and welcome to my YouTube channel. So guys, today I'm going to try to be as slow as I can because my voice, I'm still straining it when I talk, so if you can forgive me about that one. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into today's video. So today, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial was to resume at the Pretoria High Court. Unfortunately, it had to be postponed again to the 17th of July 2023. The reason why it was postponed is because the presiding judge is not feeling well. Understandable, he's a human being and also of particular age, so it's kind of understandable. It's also a flu season. I'm busy recovering from that myself. And so it's unfortunate that something of this nature had to happen, especially for the Meyiwa family who are seeking justice for the past 10 years. I want to get to that as a matter of fact, but before I get there, I do suspect or I believe that the judge is not returning. There are too many complaints that have been laid against him with the JSE. Is it JSE? JSC, sorry. With the JSC, this is a regulator for the judiciary in South Africa. I think it's called Judicial Service Commission. This is where judges basically are held accountable and so I think there might be a substantial reason why he should be recused from the Senzo Meyiwa case. I'm not quite sure. I'm not saying that is the case. Probably the guy is really ill. We don't know, because of course they're not going to just come and say he's been recused, because once you recuse a sitting judge, that means that the entire case has to start all over again when they assign a new judge, which I think is going to be the case. So if we were in the USA, this will be called a mistrial. And once a mistrial has been declared, that means a new trial will have to sit. And I think that's what we are facing on the 17th of July, 2023. I could be wrong, but that's my suspicion. Remember, me and my two IQs, and I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, and I'm like, this is mistrial. So we will be seeing a new judge in this case. But my thoughts are 10 years later. 10 years later, so many things have changed. Evidence was tampered with from day one. And the 7 people that were in that house on that particular fateful Sunday, they've grown. Others have gotten into drugs. Others are no longer credible themselves as human beings. So much is going on. And I think at this point in time, as much as I hate what I'm about to say, this case is not going anywhere. And I believe nobody's going to be held accountable for what happened to Senzo Meyiwa 10 years ago. And I think the state needs to take South Africa into its confidence and apologize for the miscarriage of justice in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial and everything that has transpired thus far. Unfortunately, the Meyiwas may never get the justice that they need. Hopefully somebody someday will feel some kind of consciousness and come forward and say, okay, I'm willing to talk. Because right now, nobody's willing to talk. None of those 7 people are willing to talk. But let's hope that someday somebody would develop a conscience either on their deathbed or maybe, I don't know, something happens and they get up and say, you know what? Here's the justice, and these are the people that were involved, or this is the person that actually shot and killed Senzo Meyiwa on that particular day. But right now, unfortunately, I don't see this going anywhere. And secondly, if this matter does comes to an end with nobody found to be held accountable, the accused, especially those 7 people that were in that house, the Kumalos, the Twalas, and whoever else that was there, they will have to live with a dark cloud hovering over their heads for the rest of their lives. As long as justice was not served in this matter, they will just have to accept that this is the type of people they will be in the South African society. Even myself, when I look at Kelly Khumalo or Zandi Khumalo or Chico Twala himself, even though I know he's not involved, but the fact that his name for the past 10 years has been linked with this case, I will not look at him the same again. I will be like, were you involved? Are they protecting you? Are they protecting your son? Who are they protecting? Why did you call? Or why were you with the first person that was called before the police? I'll have all these questions every time I see him. And looking at Longwe, I will always have a question in my head. Now that he's a druggie, it makes his credibility and as a person himself very, very sketchy for me. And I'll not be able to look at him with as a person that is innocent in this matter. Because I want to know, why did you get into drugs? Are you trying to suppress a conscience? I don't know. So that is just my take on that. So the second thing as well that I wanted to highlight in this video is that a 9th person has been arrested in the Thabo Bester saga. So a 31-year-old Zimbabwean man was arrested yesterday morning after he was picked up by the South African Police Services. Basically, he was also accused of aiding and abetting the escape of Thabo Bester in lawful custody. And if you dig a little bit, or you're hearing some whispers, you will hear that that's actually is it Zanda? That Mr. Moyo that Thabo Bester was thought to be. I think that is the guy that that is Zanda Moyo, allegedly. So we will hear more about him, because I tried looking for more details about him, but I could not find anything. And I'm not quite surprised why I would not find anything, because if he's not a South African citizen, it's going to be a little bit difficult to find his background and things like that. But we are going to wait until he appears tomorrow, which is the 13th of June 2023. And we'll get to hear probably some few little details about who he is. And if I found out more, then we'll have a video and we'll have a discussion about him. Now, again, I'm very disappointed to note that this is a small fish. Where's the big one? Who's paying? Who's the person that holds the power? Why they are not arrested? How come this network is still able to pull some strings from wherever they are? That's very interesting. But anyways, this video again is about the exclusive interview that Dr. Pashy had with SABC's Griselda Lewis. I watched that interview yesterday when it came out. I was right there because I knew prior that that interview was going to happen at 4:30. And I sat and I watched, and I was like, I'm very interested to hear what Dr. Pashy has to say, because you guys know my position about Dr. Pashy. In my previous videos, I had questions to ask, and things were just not making sense. So I guess her interview with the SABC was her way of breaking her silence for the first time, and I must say, I appreciate that very, very much. So if you are not aware of who Dr. Pashy is in the Thabo Bester saga, basically this is a doctor whose two passports, were found in the possession of Dr. Nandipho Makudumana in Tanzania when she was arrested over there. And so, of course, as Dr. Pashy calls us, digital mob justice, we went berserk. And some people accused her of aiding and abetting Thabo Bester to escape even further away from South Africa, possibly from the continent of Africa. Do you blame the digital mob justice? No, you can't blame them, because speculation definitely will spark, especially when two of your passports are found on the fugitives. So what were they supposed to do? Anyways, lots of questions were raised. I raised some questions myself. Some of them were answered. Some of them I was like, I see where you're going. I see where you're going. But anyways, guys, just so I get into this video a little slower, you know, I grew up in a very interesting way. I went to like one of the, I think it's the best schools in South Africa at the time, and every time, it didn't matter which school that I went to, critical thinking was something that was nailed into our heads. thinking outside the box is something that was nailed into us. So much so that when you think, some people not even understand what you are talking about. But some people who are in the same line as yourself will understand exactly what you are saying. So I always disregard those that think, oh no, what are you talking about? If you don't understand me, find other videos where they will be sophisticated and more complicated in situations like this very case that we are discussing. So now, why am I saying what I'm saying? Is because I was listening to Dr. Dr. Pashy, and I realized that, okay, this woman reminds me so much of, I think maybe it was high school. You know, you will have like different kinds of students. You'll have those students that come to school just to pass because that's something they need to do. As long as they got 50%, they're okay. It's got nothing to do with intellectual capacity being put in there. Even when they write composition, you can just tell that this composition is to just, shut the teacher up. I've submitted my work. And also those that cram to pass, not those who study to learn, and that knowledge be carried with them for the rest of their lives. And the whole concept of education as well, the whole concept of education, we were taught to risk management. That's what education is all about. It's about seeing a problem, dissecting the problem, put it together, and then manage it. That's the whole concept of education. So when you foresee something coming from a distance, you must, by the time it gets to you, must have analyzed it and also packaged it. And now it's a matter of you now managing it so that it does not affect you negatively. It's solving problems. That's what education is about. And I'm looking at Dr. Pashy and I'm like, she does not have a sense of risk management. Probably she was one of those students that just went to school to pass. As long as she crammed the anatomy, that's fine. But now what the function of the anatomy, who cares? That's boring. So that's how I felt when I was watching her. And now, usually things like that usually play themselves out when you're an adult. If you were taking shortcuts in your academic career, when you are now outside in the real world, they have a tendency of showing themselves up like, hey, remember us? The reason why you were supposed to pay attention and study to understand what you were studying, this is the very reason why. So I felt exactly that way. And I'm not saying that Dr. Pashy is stupid, but what she has done is stupid. Well, there's some stupidity in some of the things that she had done, and I'm sure wherever she's at, she does feel a sense of stupidity. And there was a question that Griselda asked her towards the end: how do you feel? Do you feel betrayed? She said, I feel betrayed, but I could tell that she was this close to saying, I feel also stupid, because that's how anybody would feel like, why didn't I follow this? Why didn't I follow up on this? Why, in hindsight, you start asking yourselves questions that you should have asked in the beginning. So that's how I felt. But anyways, this interview was quite interesting for me because it painted a clear picture about what had happened. And let me tell you something. Do I believe Dr. Pashy in whatever she said? I do 100% unreservedly. This woman was definitely scammed. The reason why I'm whispering that word because YouTube has a problem with it. So I do believe that she was scammed. This woman by Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandiwe Makutuman. She says that they met on social media in 2015. So Dr. Nandiwe Makutuman had 5 years of grooming this woman into trusting and believing in her. And one of the things that also got to me was the fact that she says the reason why she gravitated towards Dr. Nandiwe Makutuman is because she's a doctor, she's a woman of God, and her father is a pastor, and also she would post captions with Bible-related scriptures. So she had no reason why she would not trust her. Okay, anyways, I don't talk religion on my channel. I'm not interested. I've got very strong, how do I put it? I have very strong opinions about things like this, and I tried my level best to keep out of it so that I don't upset a lot of people. So I could not help but roll my eyes when I heard that. I was like, oh my goodness gracious, you are a doctor, a medical doctor at that. But anyways, we are not there. And so the second reason why I trusted everything or believe everything that Dr. Pashy said was the fact that not once, while she was describing this man that she was working with, who was in New York or London or wherever, she was always known him as TK Ngwane. And even in the interview with Griselda, she consistently referred to him as TK Ngwane, TK Ngwane, TK Ngwane. All the way till towards the end where she's like, yeah, TK Ngwane, whom now we know as Thabo Bester. So she really believed that she was dealing with TK Ngwane. And so that is one of the reasons, for me, I think that's the major reason why I believed what she said in that interview. And the last reason why I believed her is because of the dumbfoundedness on her face and the body language. You know, when you're dumbfounded, like, you look like, damn, I'm stupid. That's how she looked like. I'm not saying she's stupid, but it is something that I would have said as well. I would have looked the way she did. This woman is all cried out. Not even a single tear dropped out of her eyes. But you can tell that she's crying. It's just that she doesn't have tears left no more because of stupidity. The stupid things that she should have avoided, she actually did not avoid them. And I felt really, really bad for her. I felt terrible for her. And another thing I would think the reason why she did not cry is showing strength as well. I'm not quite sure whom she was showing strength to, either to her son or to herself, or maybe she was just now composing herself and using her emotional intelligence, things that she should have used in the past. And now she's just guarding herself and also avoiding digital mob justice from coming after her and say, those tears are just crocodile tears. Because in South Africa, you are damned if you do and you are damned if you don't. You will still be accused of one thing or another when you are expressing something that you shouldn't have done in the beginning. I get it. I get the digital mob justice, so why they need to do what they need to do. And I also get why she was also being strong and holding back her tears and emotions. But still, this woman is broken. Her humanity, you can tell, is broken. Her spirit is broken. And then I'm glad that she is seeing someone like a professional to regain her strength. Even though towards the end as well, when she was addressing Dr. Nandipho Makutumana and Thabo Bester, she was trying to show some powerness, but still, it was not a punch, you know? The punch for me would have been like, yeah, I'm glad that you are arrested. I'm glad that you are justice going to be served. I hope you rot in jail. I had hoped she would say that. She would have said that to them, but she decided to take the women empowerment route and things like that. But there's also nothing wrong with what she said. I think maybe she's a bigger person than I am, because I would have looked straight into that lens and said, listen here, when I Dr. Nandipho Makutumana Skebengu, I would have gone straight there and given it to them. But I guess she's bigger than me. You know what else I also found interesting is the fact that since 2015, Dr. Nandipho Makutumana and Dr. Pashy have never had a sit down together like friends do, like go to each other's houses for dinner dates or dinner parties and hanging out at the mall or at the restaurants and just, chopping it up. No, I was very surprised to hear that. And what surprised me the most is that you are handing over millions of rands to somebody that you've never met before. The only time you meet this person is on events or red carpet. What kind of trust is that? I will be honest with you. The moment a person, this is my truth. The moment a person says to me, I am a child of God, trust and believe me, I clutch my belongings really, really tight. That's me. And I'm not saying that you should be doing the same thing. I think because me, I've got church hurt, very strong church hurt. For the past 20 years, I've been trying to recover. At this point, I actually given up. That's not the point. I feel like South Africans are gullible. Not all South Africans are gullible. I think people that try us know that we are gullible. Educated or not. There are these people that I call that are gullible, and they have degrees and diplomas, graduates. I call them educated fools. And that's exactly who Dr. Pashy is. She's an educated fool. Not because she's stupid. The things that she was doing, handing over millions of rands and taking contracts, and without taking them to a lawyer to verify and authenticate them, and also look for fine prints. How do you trust somebody like that? That's a foolish move. So I felt like, oh my goodness, this poor woman, she was foolish. This is a textbook definition of an educated fool in my eyes. So when it came to 2020, this is where Dr. Nandima Makutomana executed her plan. Been grooming her since 2015. Now it's time for this lady to depart with her money. And that's when she introduces that she has a media company that is run by a TK Nkwana who is situated in New York. And Dr. Pashy, after hearing that pitch from Dr. Nandima Makutomana, she then comfortably gave Dr. Nandima Makutomana her numbers to give to TK Nkwana. TK Nkwana wasted no time. Mind you, this is Thabo Bester in prison, calls Dr. Pashy, sells whatever it is that he sells to her. She too shares her own journey with her community project that empowers women and children, kids. And Thabo Bester then says, oh, well, my company also works with the likes of Oprah Winfrey or OWN, and I can connect you and, expand your community project. Basically, let it be known worldwide, and the philanthropy that you are doing. Oprah Winfrey is a philanthropist herself, and she would mentor you and all that. Of course, Dr. Pashy thought that is a good idea. For me, that would have been a red flag right there. I would have been always squinting my eyes like, Oprah Winfrey. Not only did TK Nkwana went on to say Oprah Winfrey and him are kind of like in a working relationship, he goes further to say Gayle King is also involved. And I'll be like, if I was Dr. Pashy, I would have been like, right. That is where I would start having my ears sharpened, my antennas really vibrating, waiting for that moment where I'm going to be asked for money, and I'll be like, whoa, right there. Oprah or not, you and I are not going to be doing business together. I'm telling you. And I also found the introduction of TK Nkwana to Dr. Pashy very interesting. CEO of Vibe California, New York, London? That to me would have been like, okay, interesting. Very interesting. I found that Griselda Lewis was asking good questions, even though she did it in a timid way. I think there may have been a point where Dr. Pashy may have given a warning to Griselda Lewis that if you are going to ask too personal questions, this interview will be over, because you could tell that she was really, really doing her best not to cross that line. And sometimes she would try to push it, especially when it came around the 5 million rand. I don't know if you remember. Do you confirm that you sent them millions? And she said, yes, I confirm I sent them millions. But when Griselda wants to know the amount, this is when Dr. Pashy was like, Griselda, this matter is under investigations, so I cannot give you the exact amount of millions of rands that I had given to Dr. Nandima Makutomana and Thabo Bester, or TK Nkwana at the time. So there were also other parts where I was like, the Griselda Lewis is, I don't think she was timid by Dr. Pashy. I think she was just being careful that this interview does not get interrupted by Dr. Pashy walking out. So she needs to squeeze as many questions as possible. And I also feel like that interview was not complete. I think there did come a point where she may have pushed the button, because we know Griselda Lewis, she pushes when she does interviews. She wants to get to the questions that the public is asking or the public is interested in that we can't ask ourselves. But with this one, she was really, really skating on thin ice, and you could tell. The other part that actually made me giggle a little bit was when she was telling Griselda Lewis that even though things were moving during the preparation of this women conference, there were times where it will stall after sending millions of rands to TK Nkwana. She would call Dr. Nandwe Makutumana and they would pray. They would pray. And Dr. Nandwe Makutumana knew very well that she's busy scamming this woman. And she would kneel down and pray to God. That is some other level of horribleness. That's evil. That is why I always say, if I was God, that lightning bolt will always be here. The moment you say something, thank goodness I'm not God. And the other red flag for me was when the event was being delayed because of, that's another word YouTube has a problem with, injection, because of the Kovovo was being delayed, and so they moved the event to the Staples Center in California, Los Angeles. And in my mind, I'm thinking, come on, at this point, you should be like, really? The US, the one that was hit hard by Kovovo, and here we are going there because in South Africa, the is delayed? That doesn't make sense. Come on, that's a red flag right there, girl. So on the 3rd and 4th of May 2022, this is the day after TK Nkwana, Thabo Bester, escaped from Mangaung Correctional Center, had a meeting or was stuck in meetings with Oprah Winfrey and her lawyers discussing the ticket sales system thingamajig and how Thabo Bester had to come back to Dr. Pasha and say, hey, we need more money. Oh, by the way, in this meeting, we also talked about a television studio that you will have to build where we're going to have you presenting a show on women empowerment, but under OWN, like Oprah Winfrey's network, I think it's called. That to me would have been like, okay, that's another red flag. But anyways, and I would have said no more money. But she paid it anyways. And I also wanted to know, how did her passports get to Dr. Nandwe Makutumana? And it was explained by Dr. Pashy that because they were all going to California for the Women's Empowerment Conference at the Staples Center, she was also interested in visiting some hospitals and doing some work there. So Thabo Bester, or TK at that time, had connections. I don't know if it's connections or what. And so they asked her to send her passports, both her passports, to them. And so she said she was busy that particular day. So Dr. Nandwe Makutumana sent her driver, whom now we know as this 31-year-old Zimbabwean man, who drove and collected these passports from Dr. Pashy. Again, for a person of Dr. Pashy's status and stature, I'm very surprised that you would hand over your passports to people other than relevant steakhouses, where if you get a job overseas, there are processes that take place. Number one, you should have had a job to begin with where you are going to before you get a working visa. Why are you giving it to individuals? They are not Home Affairs or the embassy of the country you're going to. That part, it still baffles me. And I had hoped that Griselda Lewis would have asked her that for a person who's well-traveled, you should have known that this is not the right way of doing things. What's happening there, girl? I'm confused. And more money had to be paid for Oprah Winfrey's jet to basically bring her to South Africa or take her to California, where she anyway lives. I'm not quite sure. And so she had to pay those monies. And until the news broke on the 16th of March 2023 that Dr. Nandi Makutumana has aided and abetting an escaped prisoner by the name of Thabo Bester. Then she sends the article to TK because remember, Dr. Nandi Makutumana was the one that introduced Dr. Pashy to TK Ngwana to basically say, hey, look, is this true about my friend Dr. Nandipa? Until the news broke, actually, where Dr. Pashy is watching and say, wait a minute, this is TK. This is the first time she connects the two and realizes that, oh my goodness, I've been ammed here. And yeah, her world fell apart from there. I can imagine the stupidity you would feel when you realize that. I'm sure she felt so stupid when she realized that. And I know it's not an easy thing to accept. That is why other doctors decided, you know what, I will die in secrecy about this or my stupidity in giving these people money. They decided not to come out. But I still say, again, that if you had any sort of engagement with Thabo Bester, I think this is the best time for you to come out. Because if they trace this money and it leads to your bank account, you're going to be accused of aiding and abetting. And that means now a trial you're going to have to go through. Come out and say, hey, guys, I'm also one of those people who was duped. And this is my story. Yes, I paid so much. Yes, this, and that. But I think Dr. Pashy's interview will also weigh in and help those other doctors in explaining themselves. I do believe her. I don't think she has a case to answer. I think she's not going to get herself into any legal trouble. I hope that she goes through with the lawsuit as well as with the criminal case that she's laid against TK Thabo Bester and Dr. Nandipa Makutumana. And I also like the fact that she forgave the Minister of Home Affairs, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, because Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, he was also fed some things that were misinterpreted in his head, and he came and delivered to the nation about Dr. Pashy. And now we believe her, some of us. I do believe her 100%. Like I said, unreservedly, I believe what she said. I understand that some people wanted more, like crying, emotions, and all that. They wanted more answers from her. Me, I'm satisfied. I'll be honest with you. I'm satisfied with everything that she said, and I believe her. Lastly, the interesting part as well about the interview was when she said that Thabo Bester would be in different locations. One moment he's in the yacht in the middle of the ocean. This is a person in prison. The next, he will be walking on the streets, taking a stroll, and they would have a video call. If it's not in an office, like, I really want to go to Mangaung Correctional Center. They have an ocean there, guys, with yachts. They got roads. They got office spaces and things like that. If I ever get arrested, that's the prison I want to go to. I don't know about you. Anyways, guys, I do have a suggestion because I heard something in that interview. Dr. Pashy mentioned, or in fact, it was Griselda Lewis talking about the television studio that Dr. Pashy had built in preparation for this television show that she was going to have under own. Dr. Pashy, there are young women in Gauteng that are doing the best that they can to alleviate poverty in their lives, unemployment. If you can turn your studio into a YouTube kind of studio where you provide the resources that they may need, and then girls come probably once a week to create videos and till they are monetized. Maybe 6 months after monetizing, they can now go on their own so that they give new girls an opportunity to also create a name for themselves on these YouTube streets. You know, fill the, install Wi-Fi in that television studio, And the cameras, of course, some of them they may not have. Of course, many people are filming from their cell phones, which is there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like having cameras and having a space to film is something that will help a lot, especially with young women that may want to start YouTube channels. I don't know. Instead of that place just being vacant, it looks gorgeous. That studio looks very, very beautiful. So I think maybe you can do something like that in, contributing, kind of like expanding on your community projects. Maybe at some point when it becomes larger, then you can take it to other provinces and regions of South Africa, because of course you can't be serving only young women in Johannesburg or Gauteng. I don't know. That's just a suggestion that I have for you. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening to my small thoughts about this entire situation. I did not want to take you through this interview one by one because it's been over 24 hours since it came out. So, of course, you already know the details. I'm just talking about my own thoughts and feelings about this situation. Do I think Dr. Pashy is stupid? No, but I think she did some stupid things. As I said, I can just put her under one label, an educated fool, because all the things that she did that got her to the situation she's in were foolish moves. But very, very intelligent woman in other parts of her life. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. Anyways, if you like the video, give it a like. If you don't like the video, still give it a like. Leave me a comment down below and let me know what were your thoughts about Dr. Pashy's interview with Griselda Lewis. Also, what do you think about the Senzo Meyiwa case? Do you think it's going anywhere? Do you think I'm being too negative about it? Because honestly speaking, it's going nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. Evidence is lost. Evidence is lost. The only evidence we are left with is somebody developing a conscience. That's it. Other than that, that's that. Do share this video far and wide, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time with a new video. Goodbye.